2. Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back to our Sisters Corner.
Well, we're bridging the gap between literature and healing.
We're your host, Kenyatta.
And I'm Diamond, and this is episode 7.
Y'all, we are so excited. We say that every episode, and we truly mean it, but we're so excited to be back today because we feel like this is going to be a great episode. Mm-hmm. We have so much to talk about.
Yes.
As you guys know, this month we're reading Fighting for Our Friendships by Danielle Bayard Jackson, and Chef's Kiss, indeed. But this book really got us right on together, and we can't wait to share with you guys just the host of knowledge that we were able to gain from this book.
We said we bridging the gap between literature and healing. Let's talk about the healing, okay?
Because it's there.
Baby, let me just say this, Danielle. If there was a bag that anybody needed to be in, you're in it. You're in it. You
yes, indeed.
You did your biggest. You did your biggest one with this one. But we ain't gonna hold y'all. We're gonna jump right into it. So on this part, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to jump and do a recap briefly of our previous episode where we talked about how we were navigating our 20s versus our 30s in friendship, positive or negative ways. So since you have read the book, has anything about your opinion from that episode or anything specific from the episode, has it changed?
A little bit.
Me too. But listen.
A little bit.
Because the book was like, you think? Let me put a mirror up.
Definitely. I will say, just after reading the book, I was able to extend myself more grace. In previous relationships, I acknowledged that parts of me were so closed off and so avoidant. I learned that, avoidant attachment style. And just with that, just being so willing to get rid of friendships or relationships, or not wanting or not knowing how to repair certain relationships, I learned to extend grace to myself.
Yeah.
Because I did not have the tools to be the friend that I thought I was, or that I thought I needed to be. And now I have the tools, and I feel like, bitch, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Like, you are doing such a good job the way that you show up. And I would say that I took all of that bad and it made me who I am now.
Yeah.
And also putting a label to what type of friendships there were. I'm trying to see what else.
Let's build a list up, baby.
Look, I have them written down, and I guess we'll get into that more into the episode.
When we get to part 2, we'll definitely get to that and identifying all of the friendship types. We probably won't go into the description of each. You got to get the book for that. Support Danielle, but we'll definitely touch on the ones that were most highlighted from our own individual experiences. So this is the list right here, and we do have the MacBook right here. We want to need a little notes. It's a lot of information. We won't lie. Okay,
it's a lot of information.
Yeah,
but I just think that now I am better equipped to be a better friend, and I think this book highlighted that for me, and also just the parts that I did not want to see about myself previously. Baby, she put a mirror up and
ate your girl up.
Yes, I was forced to see, like, at one point you were flaky. You did not show up for people, and it wasn't my best moment. So I'm excited to be equipped with everything that I need now. So I'll say that.
Yeah.
What about you?
I definitely agree. It held up this mirror because, in the past episode, I was a lot vulnerable, just very passionate, because I have experienced recently these type of disconnecting from important relationships, and me and Kenyatta got an opportunity to talk about that. Now, this is funny, y'all. Now, I was gonna say this. We might cut this out, but me and Kenyatta actually had a little rift in our we disagreed on a point as far as me overexpressing or her expressing how she expressed, and we got an opportunity to apply the things we were learning from the book.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking, is that gonna come up in part of this?
But low key though, because I think it happened before we finished the book, and then finishing the book, I was like, damn, we used some of Danielle's points, and it was really good. And I think that's going to help us segue into part 1 in just a brief moment about the art of fighting. Because it's uncomfortable to fight in your relationships with your friends. But getting back to my point, I believe that in the previous episode, I saw myself at a point where I too was not showing up in the best way in my relationships, as I, talked about. I feel like I was the which was on the list. I feel like in a way, in some seasons, I have been the flaky friend. I have been the friend who does not reciprocate, just always being the invited friend, always being the come along friend, but not initiating things that people could get to know me, get to know my interests, come along and build that rapport with friends, and really just reciprocating the energy that I was giving, or I'm giving more energy in friendships and it not being reciprocated to me as well. Just really seeing myself as a recovering people pleaser and just being there for a good time, not a long time. In my transition seasons, I feel like I was a little bit of the jealous friend, the envy friend, just having that experience where you have a friend that's in a season that you're not in, and you may have been in that season before and now you're not. So it's kind of like those sarcastic remarks like, girl, that's when she said, I know, don't that sound nice, or whatever she said to me. I was like, oh, don't eat me up, Danielle. But just really being self-aware of, you've been these different types of friends, and even though you're passionate about your standpoint of what you think happened, Danielle definitely made it clear you don't know it all.
That's true.
You don't know what was going on with the other person because you didn't apply the research way to resolve or even to get information about what was going on. Definitely an avoidant, anxious attachment. I think I'm a little bit of both, because I'm avoiding to a point where I don't want to be hurt. Like, I don't want to put myself out there, but then to the point of, if I do put myself out there, I'm like obsessing about it. Just a little taste, like, damn, she ain't tasting back. I don't want to know about. But it was natural. Listen, this has been such a great experience. I think us having that episode and having that conversation, and then now being able to see ourselves hindsight 2020, we can see where we also fall short and where we have strengths. We both are great friends. We both have, with the best of the knowledge that we've had from our upbringing and previous friendships, we've applied ourselves in the best way we knew at that time. I don't think any of us have ever been the hating ass friend that she talked about. Yeah, because I was
never that.
I was cringing during that chapter, but we gonna get to it. So I think that's how I feel about the last episode. It was really good. I'm glad that we had that opportunity. God had to let us, like, let's see if y'all gonna apply it. Is y'all gonna apply what y'all reading? See, we healing.
I love how in the book she talks about friendship being a continuum, and how we won't always be one thing, and how just we will always go back and forth. It's kind of like a dance where we will always just go back and forth in these relationships and friendships. And I think that's so important to even acknowledge that.
I just piggybacking off of that thought, with it being a continuum, she definitely explains how and we can really jump on into it with part 1, the art of fighting, and how we navigate our friendships as women anyway. But she talked about how, as women, we have to leave space and grace for our friends to change and grow. We have to be willing to communicate when those said changes that make us feel away, or feel left out, or feel not considered, or feel just that we're in a space of transition and change, and I don't know how to show up. She explained so well how those seasons too are important, because they are a bridge. They're a bridge for either your friendship to deteriorate. Yep. Deteriorate. Or it's a bridge for your friendship to grow. Like when she made the quote of, like, we grow from conflict. whether friendship, relationship, when we go through something, it makes us stronger. It makes us see each other better. And allows other people to see us as well and how we operate in our heart and stuff like that. And I just think that you ate with this, Danielle, okay? But we can get into the first part of the book. Did you have any favorite parts? Did we want to hit that, or did we want to? Do you have a favorite quote, favorite part? I have a favorite sentence, because if I say a favorite part, we'll be here all day.
Yeah. Yes, I actually have.
Now, if you read mine, we're just gonna talk about it, because I know where you're coming from.
So, I have two. So, in the first chapter,
okay,
she talked about. She was explaining Dr. Wong, and she was just talking about. Dr. Wong did research, and she said, feminist friendship is an inherently political practice of developing relationships marked by intimate bonds of understanding, care, and support that help us know how to show up for each other better across our differences. We really don't demonstrate our care or be in solidarity. We really can't demonstrate our care or be in solidarity with one another if we don't know what we need from each other. And we won't know what we need from each other or what support really looks like if we don't really understand each other's experiences. And I thought that was so beautiful, because that is so true. A lot of times we enter into these friendships, or we enter into these dynamics so one-sided with a limited mindset, where it is more so all about me rather than us being in partnership and taking the time to understand one another. So us taking the time to actually see what we both care about is a political act. And I agree, because the world tells us as women these things are inherently wrong about us. So just being intentional with having women show up for us in that way, it is special. And in chapter 9...
I feel like you're going to read mine.
Well, I'll let you say it then.
Just say where you're going to start it. And if it's around the point, go ahead.
We're going to go ahead and hit it, okay? So, in chapter 9... it's the shortest chapter, but no lie, it made me the most emotional. And we're jumping around, so we'll just circling back. But she was like, I realized that the reason I spent so much time holding back in my friendships is because I didn't totally love myself. How could I share the parts of me that I hadn't yet come to accept? And she goes on to say, like with guys, it feels so easy to conceal my awkwardness and weakness. They don't know what to look for. They're so easy to distract. But when I look into a woman's eyes, I know that I can't fool her. She sees me for real, and I felt exposed. And she just goes on to talk about, but the idea of being seen by other women made me feel fearful. I was afraid that they see the ugly parts of me, the unintelligent, the uncertain. I didn't feel feminine or friendly enough. I wasn't as stylish or as sexy. It's a really long paragraph.
That's it, because I'm going to pick up right after you.
Okay.
But as soon as I grew more comfortable with who I am as a woman, I began to see other women as extensions of myself. It became difficult to shrink in front of them. It felt unnatural to try to differentiate myself with claims like, I'm not like other girls. I embraced the fact that in so many ways, I'm just like other girls.
Like you.
And that brings me comfort. By standing among friends at a Valentine's dinner, I felt emboldened. That evening marked the beginning of a new chapter. I was giving myself permission to freely express platonic desire, and it was only possible because bit by bit, love for other women helped me love myself. She ate me up with that one.
Definitely.
She ate me up with that one. I said, "What?"
I was gonna call you and like Diamond. No. We gotta talk about this, but I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it for review. But definitely, and it's so true. It's so true. Like, we spend so much of our time trying to separate ourselves from the very thing that we need to be connected with. We need to be in partnership with. Like, why do we do that? Well, we know why.
We're going to tell you why. We're going to tell you why. So, jumping on into the beginning. So, I'm just going to read some of the chapter titles. I'm gonna read all of the chapter titles from each part. It's part 1, part 2, part 3. That's how we're going to break this down. We're not going to touch on each chapter. We think that everybody should get this. Listen, if you don't buy no other book that we've said to buy, please buy this book.
Go get this book.
You forgot to tell me my tag, but this is my tag for this episode. This is a unpaid promotion for Danielle Bayard Jackson's. This is a free promotion for her. This was the best book I've ever read in my life. I done read a lot of books, Danielle. I'm gonna say the best self-help book. Let me be specific. Words mean things. This is the best self-help book that I've read in my life. I've never felt more seen, more heard, more. Bitch, you better not cry.
I hear it. Don't you do it.
You ask the right questions, and I think that that's so important when it comes to women. Because sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I learned from a Gemini, when you ask the right questions, you get the right answers. And you ask the right questions. It's a lot of questions that we need to ask ourselves before we ask any other woman. So this is a free promotion for you.
Definitely.
We stand beside you. Okay? I'm gonna speak for her. I usually don't speak for her, but we stand beside you.
We do. No, we do.
And if I can tell a woman anything for the rest of my life, you gotta buy this book. You gotta read it. I think we all need it. Okay? But let's get into it. So, the chapters of the first part. Let me go back. And I'm using my MacBook. I want to say that once again. I don't want you girls to think I'm trying to ignore the camera. It was health, wealth, and sanity, the power of female friendship. That's 1. How we come together and why we fall apart. The 3 affinities of female friendship. That's 2. Healthy conflict and platonic intimacy. What doesn't kill you makes you closer. We just talked about that. That's 3. Stress, loneliness, and resentment. The consequences of conflict avoidance. She was talking about me.
Got me right together.
And number 5, the one that I haven't experienced this directly, but Mean Girls, the art of relational aggression, aka sophisticated stealth. All right. So I think that the first part, part 1 for me was definitely laying the foundation. Such a great way to get into the certain type of friends that we have. In each chapter, there are questions. So it's like a workbook type of, self-help book. Each chapter, there will be questions. I don't think that you have to read this book all in one setting. You definitely can read it chapter a week just to be able to apply the knowledge to your life. There are multiple questions for each chapter to allow you to dive into how you feel about the verbiage, how you feel about what you just received, and also apply that to your life. So we're just going to popcorn around to our favorite questions, and then I think that's how we can reflect back to the literature rather than us going into the literature and then reflecting back. So
no, you mentioned that in this book that this is just something you read with you through over the course of a certain period of time. I think this is one of those books you keep with you. You give to your friends. You give to your family. Even the men in your family, to be honest with you. But I know that I know most is going to be predominantly women. But I feel like this is just such a great read to have just throughout your life, because some of the questions she asked in the book, you really have to sit with, and it can't be answered in one sitting. You got to just sit with yourself and think back on some of them. But in chapter 1, one of the questions she asks, describe your relationship with your primary female caregiver while growing up. Do you see a connection between the relationship and the way you relate to your female peers today?
Absolutely.
100%.
So I'm going to read a quote, and then we can go into our answer. This is a quote from chapter 1. Without healthy models of female friendship, we stumbling over here. Help us, God. We might become frightened by the idea of befriending other women, seeking refuge and companionship in circles dominated by and seeking companionship in circles dominated by men. She ate on this whole chapter because And to answer the question, because you asked me to answer, child. I do. I feel like I've talked about my dynamic with my family a little bit. I've talked about my dynamic with my mom a little bit. She is definitely the rock of our family. There has been some, little lack there of communication and, us connecting as women, because if mom, daughter, stop there, I ain't your little friend. That has definitely translated into my adult life because it did not give me a good example of how to navigate platonic relationships with other women. Also, like, I've seen my mother have friends, I've seen my sister have friends, I've seen my family members have friends, but I've never really seen like examples of friendship where your friend becomes my auntie and like our families merge, or your friend shows up for all of the engagements, or your friend shows up for, when you're down and out, or when you how we have built friendship in our coming up or coming into being women. I don't think that that's a knock to the way that the women in my life have done friendship. I just think that I wanted a little bit more.
Yeah.
I definitely saw their experiences as examples of some positives, having longevity in friendships, but the depths is what I wanted more of. And that growing up through my 20s and up into, because we're 30, so we're not 30 something. So I think that my experience with women is that I've had difficulties and hardships of not knowing how to articulate myself in friendship, especially during moments of rift, like we just said at the beginning, when we have moments where we are not on the same page. So that was definitely that's definitely my experience. What about you?
Okay. No, I think we have similar experiences just growing up. I would say growing up for myself, I didn't have a great relationship with my mom. That's my homegirl now. But growing up, it was, I'm not one of your little friends. And it was that energy. So I had to learn how to navigate these type of relationships, the type of relationships that I wanted to see on my own. I saw my mom interact in friendship, but growing up, I'm the eldest daughter, and my mom was a single mom, so she really didn't have time for friends. Like, you got mouths to feed and people to take care of, so you don't have the space for friendship. And I just I'm so grateful. You mentioned a moment ago just how we're cultivating the relationships that we want to see, even though we didn't see them growing up. We're creating the relationships that we wanted to see growing up. Like, we are actively in those relationships. I feel like the twins are my nephews. Like, we going to birthday parties. What's the move? Just being intentional, showing up. Because I feel like that's important to me. And I wish my mom had that. And I think she has that in friendship, but
that safe place.
Yes, that safe place. I don't know. I wish there was more intentionality in the previous generation when it came to cultivating friendships with women that we are so intentional about doing. Because I did not see it modeled in the way that I wanted to see it.
So another way in this chapter too that Danielle talked about that fact, I'm glad you said ended it that way. Throughout our younger years, through school and stuff like that, we make friends through proximity. So I have classes with you, or we do some type of activity together, or we play a sport together. And then as you get older, she pinpointed 26 is when you have to actively pursue friendship. And I think that that's a big thing that I personally saw with my mom. Like, her friends were the friends that did what she did. You know what I'm saying? She played bingo, so her homegirl played bingo. You know what I'm saying? So I think that art of going out and putting myself in positions to gain friends, that I built off the strength of just we vibing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we may have a common interest, but I'm genuinely interested in knowing who you are as a person. Like, I meet you, have a conversation. Oh, you seem so nice. I like how you just off the strength, just building a friendship from scratch. And I think that she made a great point in this chapter, how a lot of women talk about how they struggle to build friendships, and how those type of women who struggle with friendship kind of flock more to men. That piggybacks off of the quote that I gave, and I think that that's just so interesting, because I too, like, I remember vividly saying in my 20s, like, oh, I'd rather hang around men. It's, they're more cool, they laid back. And now in my 30s, I'm saying, you didn't want to be vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? It takes a bit more effort and energy to become closer friends with women. You weren't at a point where, like I said in our previous episode, I wasn't at a point where I was ready to peel back those layers in order to build that community with women, and not really knowing the value of how much that transformed your life. So I think that girl, she ate me up when she started talking about that. And I'm gonna pick another question over. Is there something that you want to give on that too?
I just think that I love how we are shifting the narrative around vulnerability. Just growing up, we felt like we had to be a certain way, and now we saw that we've gotten to this point in life and realized, hey, this isn't what you need. You actually need to be vulnerable. You actually need to create space for vulnerability to exist. And I think that's why our friendships are what they are. Like, we know at the beginning of an episode, okay, we might be crying today.
Yeah.
We know that we hold space for those emotions, and it just feels so much better. It feels freeing to just be able to move through the relationship and not feel like you're a burden to people. So I'm grateful for it. I just, after reading this book, I'm telling you, I feel relieved. I was very emotional reading it because she called me out a lot. But I feel so relieved. I feel refreshed just having the tools to better navigate.
You shot me.
Girl.
Yes, I do too. I feel like this definitely was the book to show you yourself. You know what I'm saying? Show you yourself, show you in ways where you may have taken a step back. Hold on. Yeah, that you take a step back, or not creating those safe spaces for women because those safe spaces were not created for you. So really, just, I feel like me and you, we've gone through the trenches throughout the years, just putting ourselves in situations to learn. And I'm saying the trenches because that's hard. A lot of people aren't doing it. People still saying no new friends.
Girl, what?
And I feel like we've really been intentional about just getting out there. Just getting out there, leading with kindness, leading with joy, stepping into our authentic selves, and then speaking for me, and just leading with your own interest.
Speaking for you,
I'm gonna speak for me on that one, because I told you, you've been nice, you've been kind. Kenyatta gonna say, I wonder how people perceive me. You're a nice person. You're nice, bitch. I thought you was nice when I first met you. Me, people probably, it's a hit or miss. It's a hit or miss.
You said,
I get fun. I always get, oh, she's so fun to be around. I'm telling you now. Now they probably like, she's so nice, she's so kind, she's so interesting. When you met me at 21, she's fun. No, we took shots in the bathroom. She's fun. I can admit that. But I think that it took me a while to get there, to be able to, like,
No, you say I'm living in my authentic truth, and you say I'm speaking for myself. I'm like, wait, so you saying I ain't speaking in
that's what you got to communicate. You got to communicate, because you just said some of your friends think, what this second deal, baby? But nah, I think that I'm just learning more to lead with not your protective stuff. I think as women, and she talked about this as well too, we lead with a protective cover of ourselves when we meet other women, to where it's more difficult in some cases where we're already judging, we're already anticipating something negative to happen. that's why most women say, well, I've had bad experiences with women and da-da-da-da. And women friendship is just not that good anymore. And the big thing on TikTok, if she don't got no friends, it's a red flag. And it's so sad because this book is the key to revealing that's just not true. Some women who don't have a lot of friends, they have had scorning experiences. And it really plays a part on how you show up in the future. So I definitely agree with the fact that it takes time. But the only way to heal a thing is to do that thing when it comes to relationships. Let's see here. Let's pick another question. I highlighted them. Okay, so from chapter 2. Okay, in a friendship, what do you do when you notice a gap between what you want and what you're getting? How do you manage and communicate those expectations?
I feel like that is such I think it's a great question, but I feel like this is a new answer for me because previously if I felt like something was wrong or noticed any type of change, I think I like
hypervigilance.
Yes. Yes, definitely hypervigilant. Am I saying it right? Hypervigilant. Hypervigilant?
Yeah. Keep it in, Terrence.
Baby.
We human today. We're living in our truth.
Did we just read War Girls? This is part machine. I'm playing. But I think this is just new for me. Just previously, I would hyperfixate on things, and if I noticed any change in anything, I would just remove myself because I would expect someone to know better, or I would really subconsciously place my needs before someone else's. So if there was an issue, you reach out to me. I don't know. I'm just, I don't know. Just now I'm just learning to be more vocal about things and following that feeling of discomfort. Okay. Like I think even when we were talking about just how we showed up in the episode, normally I would have just not said anything or just kind of kept a distance or just,
I know.
I know. Just avoid it when it comes to certain things. And I definitely took that as a moment of opportunity. Like, I'm like, bitch,
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. And I think
stepping into that discomfort.
Yeah. And I think that too, like me, I feel like when something was something. Oh, I know.
No.
Oh, me. I think that when something happens, I too would not even. I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't necessarily just leave the situation yet, but I would internalize that. Like, let me keep a note. This is a quote that I highlighted too that kind of piggybacks off that. It turns out that women evaluate women who provide low quality support, saying things like "get over it" or "it's not that big of a deal" more poorly. They don't like them as much and don't see their comfort as effective. You kind of might expect your boyfriend or husband to not be able to support you in that way, but when you go to your girlfriends, you expect them to tend to your feelings and validate them. I wanted to say that before I said answer your question. So last episode I did say that if a person is not emotionally available, because I'm an emotional person, that tends to turn me off from people. But Danielle goes into the fact that a lot of people don't think like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're dealing with somebody who is not, I'm not going to say emotionally unavailable, but they just don't lead with emotion. For instance, you don't lead with emotion. I led, when we had that discussion, I led with how I felt about, how we navigated the episode, and then you came back a day later. I was a little anxious because you did wait till a day later, but you came back a day later.
It wasn't a day later.
It was the next day.
No, we talked later that night. It was we sent a voice note and then we talked later that night because I was like, we have to talk. This 25-minute voice notes, we gotta talk.
But I am a little bit more anxious and in areas where I'm not emotionally accepted. I don't feel that way with you though, because I think that you understand me well. It's a push for me when, okay, say how you feel and just leave it. Like Danielle, she talked about how if something's going on, just say how you feel and how that person takes it. You be ready to deal with it. I literally said that in the last episode about myself getting comfortable with doing that. But I said all that to say, I normally would not voice where my emotions are not being met. I would just retreat, like you said, retreat, not worry about it. Take it like that's how that person is. They're not emotionally available to my needs and concerns. So let me not give it to them. But then that also leads to the fade out. You'll hear about it. It leads to the friendship fade out where you're not showing up as much or you're not putting yourself in a position to be vulnerable or be transparent. And it's not really intentional in that way to make the friendship end. Mm-hmm. It's just like a comfort, a trauma response.
Yeah.
Because I'm like the avoidant, anxious avoidant a little bit. I be a little anxious, but then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna leave it alone. I ain't gonna say nothing. But that's not true because you don't know if your friend cares or not if you don't have that conversation.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I really thought that was a great question and a great way to for us to examine ourselves as well. And to see, do you want to ask this person? Because jumping to a conclusion is such a dangerous thing to do as women. It's sad that we all do it,
Mm-hmm.
But ask this person. Ask the person what they feel, what they think. And that's the best way. Danielle said this, not me. That's the best way to know if you should stay in a friendship. You should never want to stay in a friendship where you don't feel safe, protected, honored, appreciated, even liked. Mm-hmm. You should be confident in yourself that I want to be around people who love me, you know? So ask the hard questions. Everything ain't hard. Ask the good questions too. Lead with a joke or something.
I think this really just highlights just you take all of yourself with you.
Yeah.
Like everywhere you go. Yeah. And it just really highlights that with the point that you just made, asking the right questions and then giving yourself the opportunity to realize if this is a situation or a friendship that you want to remain in.
Speaking of having to navigate for the things that you truly want in your relationships and filling the gaps, mm-hmm. I think that a good thing that we are learning to do in a healthy way is have conflict. There are so many good points that were made about conflict in the next chapter, which is chapter 3. But I think one of my biggest ones that I liked, and we can get into the 4 breakdowns of how to do conflict, is learning how to fight. And the passage from that, it doesn't help that some of us see conflict with friends as a sign of incompatibility. So when a friend disappoints us and things get tense, we begin to question their character altogether. While that may be true in some circumstances, conflict itself is not a revelation of some fundamental incongruence and evidence that we aren't meant to be friends.
I felt personally attacked.
That really makes us go into the ways that we get stuck on inconsistencies in friendships. So what do you think about that point? And then we can get into the 4 barriers of reconciliation among women. Yeah.
I think it brought up a good point when it talks about just learning how to fight, mm-hmm. because acknowledging that is difficult and having to sit with that, you also have to acknowledge the fact that you don't have the tools necessary for repair. Mm-hmm. Speaking to myself, and she talked about in the book that learning how to fight, and she spoke about just having conflict and intimacy, mm-hmm. and just in our friendships and in these close relationships, conflict is bound to happen. Yeah. So just preparing yourself and getting the tools that you need to be better in conflict and intimacy.
Yeah, because in conflict, I think that we learn this in a good way in our romantic relationships. Conflict allows us to build strength in our romantic relationships. You know, I'm gonna get into it with my man. Yeah. You beefing with him because I'm beefing with him, but then when we back good, we good. It was just a misunderstanding. It was a misunderstanding. We love to say that, but in friendship, it's like, she ain't even my friend no more. We ain't seeing eye to eye. I don't. And these are some of the big questions that actually I think that she pointed out that we should ask ourselves when it comes to friendship conflict. We stated this a little bit earlier in the episode that in friendship we always want to be on the same page. We never want our friends to, never think that our friends see us in a different way or they don't understand where we're coming from. We want to make sure we maintain this safe space. It's so important. But these are some of the questions that she asked when we're getting into reconciling and seeing, both sides. What is the weight of the offense? What's the frequency? How often is this issue occurring? And like, what effect does that have on you? The third one is, what is her reception to feedback? So is your friend hearing you out? How are you even giving the feedback? Are you receptive to feedback? How deep is our mutual interest and commitment? These are some of the big highlighted questions that she gave before getting into the barriers of reconciliation among women. And when I say barriers, she's basically talking about tendencies women have that work against their being able to reconcile with friends when they go through a disagreement. I think those questions are very important. Please get this book so you can go through the steps.
Definitely.
Because I feel like before we get into the barriers, I feel like those questions and the tendencies to examine and break certain things down is the reason that a lot of friendships don't go the distance. I know we talked about a little bit before, believing that hindsight isn't necessarily 20/20, and if it was different, we don't think that not that we don't think, but we don't know that if it will be better or not. But it's like reading the book and having these tools. It's like, maybe it could have been better.
Because you really have to ask yourself these questions. And sometimes in conflict, we are so on go and on autopilot. We're so guarded and so defensive that we think in our emotions and we don't give ourselves time to sit with those emotions that we're experiencing. So when she asks the question like, what's the frequency of this happening? How often does this happen in the friendship? And when you speak on it, is your friend open to you voicing your opinion or expressing how you're feeling about this? Because when you ask those questions, you have to answer those questions. And sometimes we might not like the answers, which is why we don't even ask the question to begin with.
Or scared that the answer is going to come to a point of no return. And a lot of times we need to ask ourselves those questions, because if you're not even willing to dive into it, how important is this friendship that you're not willing to go into that fear and challenge it?
Yeah. And we talked about this a lot. Sometimes when I'm not able to reach a certain level with you, I haven't reached that level with myself. Yeah. But that's just a level, that's just something in friendship that we have to do to be in connection with certain people. You have to go into the deeper waters. Yeah. Some people don't chill on the beach. They go into the sea. So I'm have
ready to die. No trade. So some of the barriers, as we talk about diving in, some of the barriers that are keeping us from diving in are expectation, rumination, attribution, and lack of mediation. And we'll do a brief little description of each. Expectation. The issue doesn't lie in having an expectation, as that is how we hold on, wait a minute.
I think the first part, like much of the conflict. Like unmet expectations.
Okay, let's do that one again. Okay. Expectations. Much of the conflict is a result of unmet expectations, which leads to disappointment. Rumination. Rumination is, in its simplest form, is to think about something deeply, but at its worst, it could become obsessive, repeatedly replaying, analyzing, and reflecting on a real or imagined event. We're going to pause on that one just a little bit. Okay. Attribution. Fundamental attribution theory is the tendency to see a person's action as a reflection of their character, while attributing our own misdeeds or wrongdoings to external circumstances. That's an episode on itself. Lack of mediation. Okay. The way that we do or don't seek mediation during conflict can greatly impact our chances of emotional reconnecting with a friend we feel distance from. Considering your tendencies to seek the guidance and support of a third party during a conflict, and ask yourself those questions. It's a lot of questions, but asking yourself questions of, am I wrong? Is she wrong? Giving everybody the truthful facts. That is lack of mediation. And people don't really think about doing that though.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes we do it, but not in a healthy way.
Yeah. The mediation is your friend. Yeah. That's not their friend.
That's on your side. It's a very biased.
You going to get to?
Yeah, these 4 barriers definitely, I like having words to the different steps on how to get through.
Girl, yes. Go ahead. Look, because I'm ready. Patience.
I love how, she said their expectations, rumination, attribution, and lack of mediation. And in expectation, it is a result of having unmet expectations. But not only that, it's not in having the expectations, but it's how we voice or don't voice having those needs and expecting them to be met.
Because one thing about it,
lay it on me.
and this, all of these things, I do this, and I'm except lack of mediation, because I feel like I haven't been in any tense disagreements.
Yeah,
well, once, but you see how that ended. But I haven't been in any tense disagreements since I've gained this knowledge.
Okay,
and I've growth, and needed mediation, but I do all of these things still. Having expectations that you haven't voiced yet, rumination. Girl, let it go. It's going to happen how it's supposed to happen. If you did everything and gave all that you were supposed to give, it's going to be good. And attribution, well, yeah.
We do that.
Yeah, because if you do some lame stuff, you see, we ain't cursing that much. If you do some lame stuff, I'm like, lame ass.
That's a character flaw.
Yeah.
That's a character flaw. Whereas when it's me doing something, that's an external circumstance.
I wasn't having a good day that day. I said all that. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it that way. But you can't speak for other people's experience with you.
Yeah.
So I think that how these chapters were broken down before you even get to the friendship type is letting you know that you too need to pull up the mirror and pull out the paper and journal.
Because if you thought you were going to pick this book up and all the fingers point towards your friendships or everyone else but you, sadly mistaken.
You got another thing coming, books. You better
please
get your
know
tissue.
it. Please. Because I think that's so important though. Just especially like even when we're talking about the 4 barriers, I'm thinking about the attribution and how we are so quick to look for the flaws in other people, and we expect grace to be extended to us in all situations. Somebody's running a few minutes late, they're disrespectful, they don't care about my time. I knew she always, we're finding the worst things to say. But when I'm late, traffic was bad, it was a wreck on the interstate, just finding outside forces as to why it's not your fault. When you could have left 20 minutes earlier and avoided all of that.
Yeah.
So
you could have stayed ready to be ready instead of getting ready when it's time to be ready. But I definitely agree. focusing on the outside circumstances and wanting grace and not extending it is such a great way to show that you lack that compassion and empathy that is needed in friendship. And when you become that person that, oh, they did this to me and this happened, and all of your stories have the same type of timeline, it's somewhere in there that we're missing the point of what did you do or what didn't you do or what could you have done differently to get a different experience from that circumstance. Not saying that you are completely wrong or that something was done wrong on your part, but there was a lack of something, and you don't want to be real with yourself about it. I think at this point we can go into how to have the hard conversations and kind of breeze over the solutions, because we're not going to give you all these problems and say you, but give you some of the solutions that you can implement to not do these negative factors in your friendships when you're having conflict. Okay, so we're getting into how to have the hard conversations. Danielle does a great way in breaking down the different parts that you should remember to emphasize when you are having a hard conversation with one of your friends. And those 7 parts are: 1, regulate your emotions. Sometimes you can get into things, be going all over the place. Remember where you end and the world begins. Remember what you feel and don't anticipate what somebody else is going to feel. Consider the mind and body connection. Explains itself. Lean into vulnerability. Let curiosity drive the conversation. That's number 4. Number 5, focus on the impact, not the behavior. All right. Number 6, offer listener checkpoints. Letting the person know you're listening to what they're saying. Not just, but
No.
You're doing too much. Step 7, end by collaboratively working towards a solution to move forward. If you can get through all them points, y'all on y'all way. All right. But I think that you should get the book. To go through each, we're not gonna sell y'all Danielle book. We're gonna tell. We already the review is a 5 out of 5. Okay.
Yes.
We're telling you to get the book. We're just going through the points because we're.
You see, she comes in strong talking about making sure your emotions are regulated, because who is going into a conflict unregulated?
Because why are you yelling already?
So yeah, did this trigger you?
Girl,
are you triggered?
This whole book, like, okay, I see how why I'm single. I see, because I'm applying this to relationships too. I feel like parallel across the board.
You have to, because I think I love how she says that when we talk about relationships, we don't include friendship in that, but why not? Friendships are our biggest relationships, to be honest with you, because how you show up in your friendship kind of shapes how you show up in your romantic relationships and vice versa. So I thought that was a really good point.
Yes, she definitely breaks down in so many ways how we don't pace ourselves in difficult conversations. We allow ourselves to get engulfed in what we feel is right, what we feel was done wrong to us, not how we wronged others. And that is a big part where things can be missed and feelings can be hurt so quickly that you miss the opportunity to address things that need to be addressed or need to be felt in a more calm emotional way, because some emotions just can't be accessed when you're already angry.
Yes.
So we can move along to okay, in chapter 4 she briefly talks about, let's see, stress, loneliness and resentment, the consequences of conflict avoidance. This chapter is just it ate me up, and I'm not gonna go into it because I don't want to cry right now, but we're gonna give it to you in a nutshell. Let me give y'all one of my favorite quotes. I don't want her to think that I don't care about her, because if I actually say what I want to say, it's going to look like I'm not in her corner, you know? I don't think she has anyone else to help her. So I'm that person, and I feel like I don't want that responsibility, but that's just what it is. This was a quote given during the gender bias with a woman who was nurturing her friend and feeling like her friend didn't have any other friends. And kind of like being that person for her friend that was in loneliness. I think that too, and many other things play a part in loneliness, resentment, and you having something traumatic happen to you that gives you this kind of like trauma response to friendship. Another big part that she talked about in this chapter was when women are ghosted. When friends ghost friends, or we don't leave friendships the right way. Did y'all see me raise my hand? Oh, anyway. But and she was saying how that causes such a big trauma response within women that they get to a point where they don't even want women friends anymore. That's really one of the main reasons that a lot of women are saying like they're done with friendship. Have you heard that too, or did you have anything you wanted to pull from this chapter?
No, I have, heard women feel like they're done with friendships because some of them don't want to put that legwork in to do it. So, of course, taking the easy way out is always easiest. I like how in the this chapter she talked about the paradox of anger, and she said that women split themselves into two people: the angry self and the responsible self. And basically, we experience our anger and then we get mad at ourselves for being angry because we don't associate being women with being angry, as if that's not an emotion that we get a chance to experience or we have the right to experience.
Yeah.
So even just understanding yourself in totality, I feel like this book is just a huge reflection of just how we've been moving through life. Because I know personally I've experienced like not wanting to be angry and then getting mad at myself for feeling the way. That's a natural emotion. Like, why aren't you able to tap in with yourself and express these emotions? Why is that so difficult for you to do?
Yes, I like how you said this book was really like a map way through how women have experienced friendship, and so on all the levels, honestly, all the levels. And piggyback on the anger point, like, I don't know, it's like, and she said this so many times in this chapter, like, it's not wanting to hurt your friend, not wanting to do the hard thing to make your friend feel like you don't understand her, you don't feel her, you're attacking her.
Yeah.
You're going against her. But if my emotions and my experience is different from yours, then it's just different. It doesn't make yours wrong. I definitely enjoyed that part. I think that this book gives us such a deep perspective of every side. Every side. Like, in some cases you can be right, you can be doing too much. In other cases you may not be doing enough. What? I ain't talking about you.
You trying to be funny. But
I too. Every time you say something, I be like, that's me.
I do like how in this chapter she also talked about how the culture in your home plays a huge role in how you even deal with your anger. Just depending on whether your parents chastised you for having an attitude or encouraged you to express your rage as a form of strength, and your choices and how you respond to when you've been offended. And that's something you really don't think about, the way you respond to being offended, that being a learned behavior.
Yes, because that also is the segue to people pleasing. And I want to give a quote. I think we intuitively know that it's dangerous to be a woman without any relationships. This is what she goes to talk about. Her segue into people pleasing. We wonder about the women without any friends, looking at her as our greatest fear. Realize, do we view the friendless woman as a social pariah? And does a paralyzing fear of sharing her fate drive us to stay in even the unhealthiest friendships? I think that it's a lot to say with how we are raised to defend and show our emotions in the home, and then also relaying that into friendship, and how it can feel like I can't do this thing because then I'm gonna lose my friends. I've been the friendless friend, like, or the friend without the most friends sometimes, and that's a negative badge to wear. You see TikTok, they eating the girls up if you ain't got no friends.
Yeah,
but
they are.
A lot of women who choose to not have friends have been scorned by friends. It's really a choice. It's not something like she can't make a friend, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of women out here throwing themselves, not at her, but, in her community to be her friend. But it's like you're scared to be vulnerable in that way.
To open yourself up to women when you've been hurt by them before. But anything worth having is worth taking the risk over and just really stepping out of your comfort zone. And like we're doing here, I tell you all the time that I feel a way about being vulnerable to a certain extent and having to show up in this way.
Yeah.
And that can be a scary thing. But on the other side of that is us really learning and healing through the literature that we read. Because the alternative would be to just read and not gain anything from it, because there will be someone that will pick this book up and will really not gain anything from it
they're not
ready to hear it. And I think about myself, if Danielle had written this book 10 years ago, homegirl would have been on my bookshelf, just sitting there chilling.
I'm going to double back on you. Now, why would she say that? 0.5. But no, that is such a great point to make, and taking that that's such a great point to make, and that's like a perfect segue to the end of this chapter where she talks about taking inventory of your avoidance, taking inventory of the ways that you keep yourself from showing up as a great friend and showing up in a vulnerable way to have conflict with your friends or to address your hurts and pains from conflict. And she does have numerous questions that go along with that. We ain't gonna get into it by the book. That ain't gonna come for free. But I do want to say this quote: refraining from conflict as an opportunity to meet a need instead of as a threat can be the first step towards alleviating yourself from the stress that comes from suppressing your concerns. We should never look We should never look at conflict as a threat. Let's just stop looking at it that way. Anytime we have any type of conflict, it should be met with curiosity to see where it's going. Now, once it is a threat, you stand on all 10
toes down.
Listen, but making sure that you're not jumping the gun and is there anything else you wanted to add from this chapter as we navigate into the type of friends? Now, the next chapter she talks about mean girls. We had not had any direct experiences with the mean girls that she talked about. A big one that she talked about was sophisticated stealth. And I'll just do like a brief summary. That's someone who it is blatant disrespect, blatant belittling, blatant making your life hard, as giving Regina George.
Very much so.
Regina George. We have not had that type of experience in our friendship. Listen, we haven't had that type of experience in our friendship. I can't even think of it.
Or in our friend groups or
anything.
We don't really. I don't do well with bullying. I don't do well with that type of energy.
You see how we coming. You get it. You get, because I'm a rumble with you.
Yeah.
And anybody that know me then and know me now, they know. It's nothing. Whatever you want, I'm on.
It's so funny. This is so funny how we are, because we're 10 toes down about not being bullied, but when it comes to like us being vulnerable, we kind of shy away from that.
Because getting physical is easy.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
Because then we have a problem. Oh, you want to talk about your traumas? I'm going to catch y'all next week. I'm going to catch y'all later.
Oh.
But yeah, we didn't have any experiences with sophisticated stealth. If you have had something like that, please look up that term and also buy the book. We told you what the episode is about. Buy the book. We can move on to the types of friendships, which is part 2. What's really going on?
Yes, and the art of understanding. In this section, in this part of the book, Danielle goes into describing the different types of friendships. And we're just going to give a quick overview of the list of friendships, and maybe you can identify if you've related to this or if you know someone that you can identify in this list.
Right. Did you see it?
Hold on.
Oh, it's a fly. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. Ooh. Okay, well, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Want to read it? Okay, so in this section, we're just going to talk about the list of friendships that she describes in this section. And the list is the flaky friend, the friend who doesn't reciprocate, the gossip, the love-obsessed friend, the controlling friend, the jealous friend, the newly changed friend, guilty, the clingy friend, and the negative friend.
Mm-hmm.
And in each of these sections, Danielle does a really good job at explaining what each of these friends do, their role, and how they show up in the friendship. And some of them are, all of them can be, I don't know how to say this. I think she does a really good job at explaining how each of these women show up in the relationship or the friendship. And
also how to identify if you're that friend.
Okay, which brings me into what I was just about to ask you.
Okay.
So, what friend have you identified with currently or in the past or just in previous experiences? Who have you been?
So, I'm going to say in my younger years, I was the friend that doesn't reciprocate in some areas.
Okay.
I can give an example of that. I have been the envious, jealous, envious friend.
Okay.
Not to the extent that Danielle was talking about, but in some ways. And I'll explain that. I have been the love obsessed friend.
Okay. I think we've all
because my man.
And that's that.
And I got a cancel on you, bitch. But anyway, and I've been the flaky friend. So just putting those together. And I feel like when I was younger, I was more of the friend that doesn't reciprocate and the love obsessed friend, because I was kind of like boy crazy. If I had a man, I went missing. In the don't reciprocate area, I know I've had friends that wanted to be more vulnerable with me. They've wanted to build more solid relationship besides being associates, and I kind of rejected that by not returning that energy. I'm gonna say I was the jealous friend during my seasons of transition, when I became a mom a little bit, like not being able to go as much anymore and kind of feeling left out. She really does a great job. Please buy this book. She does a great job of explaining the difference between jealous and envious, and how they're natural emotions, and we should not feel shame and hurt about the fact that we have felt those emotions in different seasons of our life. She gives great examples of how it comes up in seasons of your life that you can't control, whether you change from being single to in a relationship, not a mother to being a mother, or vice versa, like on all different sides. And I love how she writes it. And lastly, I have been the flaky friend. Just since I've become a mom, I want to be there for the things, retired people pleaser, but I overpromise knowing that I can't deliver because of childcare. So, and what about you?
I feel like you and I relate in a lot of ways. And for myself, I would say I have been the flaky friend. I have been the friend who doesn't reciprocate. And of course, a little bit of the love obsessed friend. A lot of it is the love obsessed friend. I love my man.
What?
And
please.
I feel like I have also experienced being the negative friend.
Okay.
And I kind of, when she talked about the controlling friend, I kind of combined those for myself, because not negative to where it's draining to be around this person, but negative as in, if you're wanting to do this and I don't think this is a good idea, I'm telling you, and this isn't what you want to do.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so it can come off as negative or controlling when I'm telling you something that you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
So I would say in that way.
And like your opinion is better than my decision.
And not say, and I can understand like how it comes off that way, but that has never been my intention. It's just, I care about you, but in this season of my life, I want for you what you want. If you are wanting a relationship, I want that for you. If you are outside and you're on something else, I want that for you too. Like, I am on what you're on.
And you always say that you're learning not to want more for people than they want for themselves.
Because I have a habit of doing that. I think just being the eldest and just seeing something, I think I have a way of seeing something before it happens. And if we can prevent a situation from happening, why don't we prevent it from happening?
True. Because
in the end, I'm gonna be one of the people that help repair you back to where you need to be. So just understanding, as you say, where I begin and where the world ends.
You gotta know. So we're not going to get into what all the friends mean. Once again, by the book.
Maybe we can do that on social media. Maybe we can talk about it on our TikTok. Just you guys have a chance to interact with us and just talk about your experience with these different types of friends, because we want to hear about your jealous friend or your clingy friend. Because I don't think we really have that many experiences with every friend listed here, but I'm always open to just learning how we navigate and how you guys navigate just growing through those tough situations. So we'll do that.
You want to pick one and give any example of the type of friend that you had, or we just gonna let it slide? We can
do one.
I have had. I know. I have had a clingy friend and a flaky friend. And within the flaky friend, it was just somebody that we would make plans and he would cancel or he wouldn't show up, or it was always something, but not even giving like a explanation, you know what I'm saying? And then when you have the conversation like, oh well girl, I got something to do, or whatever, and just not being considerate of my time. The clingy friend, I've had a friend that I think we've all had this. Some people don't like being alone, and some people put that energy when they get a friend, they get a good vibe with their friend, they want to reciprocate and not reciprocate, but they want to recreate that vibe every day. That's how I'm gonna explain it in a nice way. And that's just not possible. We can't have this experience every day. Me and you talk a lot, but if you was on my phone every day, what we doing today, friend?
It would be a lot.
I'm not doing nothing.
It would be a lot.
What are you doing?
It would be overbearing. It would be overbearing because I feel like with the clingy friend, I don't think your intentions are ill, but I do think the way you approach things and your need to constantly be around other people to feel validated in all of your experiences and in all of your things, I feel like that can be just too much. That can be a lot.
Yeah.
Because at some point, you have to stand on your own and make decisions for yourself. You have to move where you don't. Of course, wise counsel is always important. Don't get me wrong there. But when it comes to including people in the small decisions of your everyday life, I think that's when it becomes too much.
Yeah, because you got to have a mind of your own and a life of your own. You yes. want that. And I never understood how people can do that. You know how I go missing. Like, I need my time to just clock in with the star player.
That's true.
So, but yeah, did you have any specific ones you wanted to pinpoint? You could just do one if you have one or something. A friend that you had that.
I would say the gossip. I was thinking the clingy, but since you said that, the gossip. And I think, like we stated in previous episodes, having a little tea is cool. Just chit chat here and there, slide the little cup, but just full blown gossiping about other people, how they are moving, the decisions they're making. I think that can be too much, and I don't give a damn.
Or fuck.
No, like we are just growing women. We're busy women, and of course we can keep up with the little celebrity tea here and there, but even then that stuff falls on the back burner when
business got to get handled.
Business gets handled first.
Life be life, and girl, please.
And sometimes you see some people only come with information about other people. How are you doing? How is your business thriving? How are you taking account of everything in your personal life, or are you dismissing your own life and focusing on what everyone else has going on?
And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but Danielle, she explained each of these in such a great way. She goes into great detail about how to pinpoint the gossip friend, how to recognize if you're the gossip friend. I'm going to say this now. If you the friend that everybody clock in for the city tea, for what's the update, what's going on, what's
you're the gossip
happening,
friend.
You're the gossip
friend.
And I'm going to say this, it's different levels to it, and she explains the different levels that some people can gossip and then break away from it. And then we can go into what we going to talk about, what we got going on, you know. But if you're the friend that you continuously want to come back to what the city got going on, what
it consumes your life.
Come on now. And when somebody try to change the subject, you veer back.
Circling back. Let's circle back. No.
Girl, Danielle, you are funny.
And the good thing about this book is she gives us a guideline on how to handle that and how to navigate that. And if you are that friend,
thank you for
how to move forward and correcting yourself, because a lot of times everyone is not going to deal with that. And you'll notice people start to stray away from you and deal with you at an arm's length, and you're wondering why. It's because you talk too damn much about the wrong stuff. And we just want to move. We just want to move forward. We just always want to improve and be better. And sitting around talking about what everyone else has going on does not move the culture forward. It does not, unless you get paid to do it, like the Shade Room. But even then, there's limits to it.
And there's so much negative energy that connected to that.
Yes.
Kenyatta made such a great point. We did not say that about the different friends. So Danielle gives in each segment about each type of friend. She gives examples to know if that's that particular friend. She lets you know how to navigate the situation in a different direction.
And
she gives you information about removing yourself. And she lets you know if you're
the friend.
Yeah, if you're that friend and you're unsure, and how to check yourself.
Am I the drama?
Listen.
Yes, you are the drama. And I love that, though, because a lot of times we can talk about the problem, but having actionable steps and a game plan to move forward is so comforting. It feels good knowing that we have a guide to just be better friends and people. I'm getting excited.
With this book, you do not have to be in the comments. What song is this? She gonna tell you the song. You don't have to be in the comments. She's telling you how to pinpoint the problem, what the problem may stem from, and she's providing you with multiple solutions. Not just one, because it's not a one size fit all. And beyond that, she also lets you know, and this is a great pinpoint to our last part 3, as we end our review to fighting for our friendships. She lets you know ways to pinpoint if you need to disconnect from this friend. And that moves us to part 3, letting go and starting again. How did the end of the book help? What was your favorite part? Well, maybe we can get into these questions. Better yet, what was your favorite question from the last few chapters in the end of the book? Did you want to read the chapter titles, or we'll just clock it as we go through a question or two? You gonna read? So I got them all right here. Okay. So, chapter 6 was how to write your comeback story.
I love that chapter.
I love that. Chapter 7 was moving on without her. I like that one. Clock it.
Okay.
Chapter 8 was how to make friends worth fighting for. Now that was a really good chapter as well. And chapter 9 was loving you, loving me.
Chapter.
Okay, so let's see. I actually highlighted 2 questions from the end. Let's go. Okay. So this was from, let me make sure. Okay, so this is when we're going to jump around a little bit on this last part. So this is chapter 8. How have your experiences of friendships changed over the last 5 years?
Oh my gosh, I love this question.
Mm-hmm.
I think I am such a better friend. I think that I had some personal things that I had going on in my life where I felt that I was not able to show up in the way that people needed me to. I would show up, but it was in a way that I wanted to, which is why I felt like at points in my life I was the flaky friend or the friend that didn't reciprocate. I have a better understanding of what is required of friends and what I expect in friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the way I want to show up isn't what you need. So you're not going to receive it because it's not what you need. So understanding that, like we said earlier, friendship is kind of like a dance where we give and take. It's a balance of things, where I don't have it today, you may have it. And when you may need it tomorrow, I have to give. So I have just gained more self-awareness in myself to show up better in all of my relationships. I think I'm kinder. I have better conflict resolution skills. That's something we talked about, just not avoiding conflict or situations. I handle them a little more straightforward than previously. And in previous moments, I would have just disconnected or just, what is it, the fallback? The fallout. Just,
fall out, fall back.
Yes. And I just have become a more secure woman in myself, and I'm able to show that outwardly for my friends.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, over the last 5 years, it's from 2019 to the present, life slowed me down, so I feel like I had, throughout the pandemic, I had an opportunity to view myself. I am a recovering people pleaser. In my friendships, I show up better for myself. I show up better for the things that I need and the things that I want to see happening in my friendships, and also being clear on the things that I'm not able to give, and not feeling bad for not always being on call and on go for people, and on the giving in of support and giving in of showing up. But also, I feel like my friendships are so much better now in the last 5 years because I'm more intentional with personal connection, deeper connection.
Yes.
I'm more intentional about the friends that I have. I want them to be a part of my life. I want to be a part of their life. I'm getting a little bit better. I did lose a major friendship within the last 5 years. So that too has shifted my perspective on how important friendship is. And allowing myself to go through seasons where I'm not able to show up for people, and accepting the people that fall out of my life from those seasons, and being open to new friendship.
Yes.
Because that's something that I've also done within the last 5 years, just open myself up for more deeper connections, as I stated. And even though losing a friend, still being open and not letting that experience harden my heart. Integrating my friends still into my life like family, because I love for people to be in my life like family. But as I stated on the episode our previous episode, still working on my vulnerability in friendships that other friends may not show up as more sensitive to me. Now, Danielle, she whacked me with, sometimes you can judge a friend by not being as emotional, but are you asking the questions to get to the bottom of if they know they're supposed to be emotional or not? If how they show their emotions, they may be thinking they're doing enough. And if you're not having those conversations, being more intentional, being more
What was that look?
present, huh?
What? Oh.
I'm just, because that's our word for this shit.
Every time I'm gonna be like, wait, not doing enough. What you mean?
Damn, I can't even say my speech. No. But nah, just being more intentional and taking care of the people around me to the capacity that I have, and not feeling bad that I'm not able to run myself fucking dry. But also taking care and taking advantage of the things that I'm able to do for myself. Because sometimes I forget myself.
I love that. And I agree. Yeah. I agree with you. I think sometimes you do. Sometimes you do forget yourself, so it's important. I had to get her to look. So sometimes it's important to like remind your friends, like, did you eat today?
Yeah.
What just checking in with you, because you are so on go for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes you you.
And hit the brakes for certain situations.
Baby, the car is in park. There are car seats in the back.
I just can't. And that's something that I've had to learn within my last years. Like you can't do it all. You can't overextend yourself, because that's not healthy. And you got to look at what you're receiving. And I'm learning it's not even wrong if you're not receiving a certain thing, because that may be what that person has to give, but you still shouldn't overextend yourself to fill in the gap. That's not what friendship is. Not all the time, at least.
Yes. And the right people are gonna meet you where you are. I know that the right people are going to meet you where you are. I know that you have a lot going on. I know you are an entrepreneur to multiple businesses. I know you're a mom, and I meet you where you are. And my hope is that, we do the same in return, because it's a give and take.
It definitely is. Definitely is. Did you have a question from one of these chapters that you wanted to hit?
Yes. Okay. At the end of chapter 7, it is moving on without her. Think of a friendship that recently ended. Do you see the ending as a lack of compatibility or as a sign of your personal inadequacies?
That's a great question, Danielle. I probably skipped it for the reason. I'm going to say a mixture of both.
Okay.
I think that... Hold on. Because I know as I'm talking, they might go off. I'm going to turn mine off. And then... Hold on. Wait a minute. I got another one right here, too. We got alarm set. Terrence trying to stay on track here. Hold on. I don't want it to go off while I'm talking. Okay. I think that... I'm finding it. I think that it's a mixture of both.
Okay.
I believe that after reading this book, taking a look back, things could have been handled better. I think that in the lack of compatibility area, growing in different directions in life, just being at different points in life, and just maybe not having the tools to meet each other during those different points. So when you're at a different place and you don't know how to cross the distance, it can make you incompatible, because it makes you look at the person like, well, we've grown away from each other. But also, I think that we just also didn't have the practical tools on communication. I'm going to say me. I can't speak for anybody else. But I think that I didn't have the practical tools that Danielle has given us on communication, on asking the right questions, relaying how you feel about the relationship, letting the person know that it's valuable, being able to stand up for yourself, and relaying in that relationship that, this hurt me, this made me feel away, this makes me feel unimportant, this makes me feel left out, and I'm going through this, I'm going through postpartum, but just not being able to advocate for myself because I didn't have the language. So not having the language and also not creating that space for a safe interaction, it kind of was a combination of both. It kind of faded back.
Okay.
Danielle gives an example of, I'm not sure where it is in here, when you let a friendship go where nobody puts up a fight. We just retract our emotional connection and just fade into the abyss. I think it was pretty much like that. Even though there was like a conversation had, but I feel like it wasn't the most transparent conversation, in my opinion. It's just from looking back, because hindsight is not always 2020. But yeah, I think it was a combination of both. Have you?
What was the question?
Have you lost a friendship within the last 5 years, and was it due to I think lack of compatibility and
or a sign of personal inadequacies? I would say my last friendship that I guess lost, we
reconnected.
We rekindled, and I think then it was definitely just a mixture of both. It was a mixture of both. Me feeling that my way was right. Me feeling that I'm right in my way, and sometimes I can be so stubborn and stand on it, and I'm not open I haven't been open or receptive to hearing what the other person has to say. So I think it was a combination of both as well. I think it was just a combination of both as well. And just, I think that that friendship really makes me think about just the episode of reconnecting with friendships, because I think it can be hard. It can be hard. A friendship breakup.
She called it a fake back. Did she call it a fake back? Where you kind of like, you guys take your time and giving yourself grace on becoming friends again. Like if you fall out with somebody and it's not too bad.
Yeah. So when
it was. I think it was the fake back or something like that.
Like we're fake cool before we're all the way. Back all the way. And the example she gave was Insecure.
How to write your comeback story.
And I guess you could say it was the fake back. Let me be sure.
Hold on, I'm saying, the fake back. That's what it is. The fake back is the awkward period where you continue to engage with a friend without the same rhythm and comfort you had in the before times. While some see this as a sign that the friendship is over, others accept it as a prerequisite to finding each other again.
Okay, I don't feel like it was a fake back. I think we kind of went right into that conversation where we left off. So there was, I guess, we went straight back into where we left off.
Resolution and reassurance.
Yes, and learning how to apologize and just accepting responsibility and owning up to the mistakes. Like, yes, I could have been more understanding in this situation of you. I could have done this better. And just taking ownership of everything. And it's been beautiful. It's been good. That's my girl. And I think that takes a big person to do, because a lot of times they say, shout out to you. They say that the book research says that we are so difficult and we're so tough on other women when it comes to friendships. So just being in a space where you're vulnerable and opening yourself up to a possible rejection, we're here. If you don't want it,
Yeah.
Hey, we'll deal with that when we get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
You're right. We are very just hard on each other. I think when we get to a certain point that we feel like it's no return. I hate to be this person. I don't want to say it again, but buy the book, because the book explains that the places that we think are no return, you have so much more that you could do.
Yes.
You have so much more space and things that you can go into to just seeing, is this the last resort, especially if there's two people who want this relationship. Now, of course, she does explain different types of ways that you fall out with friends, whether you ghost a friend, one friend wants to be friends and the other one does not, or you simply both just fade into the abyss. And And the fourth one would be you both want to be friends, but you're having a rift.
Yeah.
I think that you have to acknowledge where you are in that. And if it is two people who want to be back friends, making the effort to do so. Because we've talked about how important and how personal friendship is. I like how she touched on the fact that time is not always a good example of the strength of a friendship.
Yes.
But when two women have a desire, I think that is worth it, you know? And that's one thing, just speaking on my own personal experience, this kind of piggybacks off what I said last episode. I never felt like it was two people who had the desire. And I can't say for sure because I did not apply and ask the questions and do all the things to make sure. We didn't have the tools, but I can say that I did have the desire at the time, but just afraid to make the leap. You know, I want to be clear on that. I don't want to be like I'm a hard ass bitch.
She's really wet tissue.
What's so funny? I hate wet tissue. That's so funny. It makes me cringe.
I do too.
But I really am. And I think that a lot of women, we value and love the women that we make a community with. There was a reason why, you know, especially those that you've been friends with for a long time, or you've gone through so many life experiences with them. You want that to grow into the future. And it's unfortunate that most of us don't have the tools, or one person does have the tools and doesn't know how to translate that information to the other person. And it's just unfortunate that a lot of friendships they could have gone the distance that didn't.
Yeah, a lot of friendships did end prematurely because we did not have the right tools. And like we always say, it's not saying that it would have been better or even lasted up until this point, but just at that time period, it ended prematurely because we didn't have the necessary tools to repair.
So, on the piggyback of repair, we have to end this episode on the most important 2 points that Danielle made. When you realize that a friendship has ended and you're going to get back out there to find more friendships, she gives so many good examples to how to do so. But before we go into those, we must emphasize on our favorite part of the book and also the ending of the book. We must love ourselves, and we must allow women to love us for us to see another side of ourselves in the community of women. You know, as a fellow woman, I can say my experience in friendship has been very different in my 30s. I said this last episode because I'm allowing women to love me. And I'm allowing myself to love other women without limits, fears and all. I'm trying. Some of y'all's a little tougher, but I'm trying. I'm getting back out there, and I'm opening myself up to it. Did you want to list the strategies that she gave in chapter? This is chapter 8. Yeah.
She talks about finding your people in chapter 8, and she just gives ways to go about doing so. The first strategy is go with who you know. The second strategy. The second strategy is connect with the concierge. We all know somebody that is super tapped in and they know everybody. Diamond, that would really be you, I feel like.
How?
I just feel like that would really be you. Just because you're not outside doesn't mean you aren't a connector. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay. So the third strategy is to become a regular. The fourth strategy would be to leverage technology. Use these internet resources to reach out to people and find your people. The fifth strategy would be try bookending your next event. She talked about in that strategy, just when you're at an event, instead of being nervous and coming straight to your seat, sitting down when the event is over, leaving, take a few moments to gather yourself, move at a slower pace, make yourself more available to the people in the event with you. Yes, make eye contact. Show yourself open to new connections.
That's something I need to do because I be the one bolting.
Head down.
Man, ready to go. Got my purse. Well, you gotta go get my kids.
And the sixth strategy is take yourself out on more dates. And I love that.
Yes.
Take yourself out on more dates. And I think that's the last strategy.
Okay. Yeah, she gives a lot of great strategies to how we can get back out there, meet new people. I love the point that she made, and we talked about this in the pre-show thing. At 26, where most of us are out of school, most of us are out of our career trucking path. I went back to school, but that's another story for another day, unconventional student. But we're out of those areas where we are structured to meet people.
Yeah.
You meet people in your classes, you meet people in your job training and stuff like that. So you're out of those areas where it's easy to meet people. Now at 26, you have to be intentional about meeting people. And that's something you do really good, actually. When we're out, you'll compliment people, start conversations, and that's such a great segue for somebody to be like, you're nice. Let's have coffee or something. You know what I'm saying? I think that I'm a little brief with people, but I think that I kind of get to the point and get on, and I want to be more open to what can happen. I told you about in the pre-show, I told you about my experience, like, over these last 2 years, like, dealing with postpartum, dealing with becoming a new mom, childcare limitations, that I've been invited to things, and I was the flaky friend, you know what I'm saying? People wanting to build connections and me just kind of like blocking my own blessings. So I like how she made those points to piggyback off of trying.
And she also talks about rejection and how the fear of rejection when trying to meet new people can stop you, but still leaning into that. And I think, well, thank you for the compliment about just being more vocal with people, because I feel like I wasn't always like that. So now I try to be intentional about, if I see your hair cute, girl, what products you use, just
my dad. I'm thinking my dad.
But just leaning more into not being afraid of what would happen. The worst, what's the worst that can happen? You didn't hear me? Or you don't want to tell me? Who cares, So just not letting rejection stop you from doing whatever it is that you want to do when it comes to making friendships or reconnecting.
Yeah. I think we didn't beat this horse down to the ground. I think that these can be our closing remarks to our review of Fighting for Our Friendships by Danielle Bayard Jackson. Did you want to go first, or I got my little closing remark? I can go first.
Go first.
Okay, so I just want to say, last but not least, please buy the book. This was an amazing book, but Danielle, thank you so much for this book. I think one of the greatest points that I've received from this book is to just keep trying. Don't let the number count of how many friends you have signify the quality friend that you are. There's always room for growth. She does explain, as you get into your 30s, that your quality of friends, for the more friends that you have, it does become lesser. But as long as you have 1 or 2 great friends that you can connect with on a regular, 5 to 10, associates, people you see out on a regular basis throughout the week, then you have a good friend group. And I think people don't give themselves credit for that. So I wanted to send that tidbit out to the women out into the void. Find you a friend, girl. You gotta be a friend to have a friend. And no matter who you lost or what you think that you're not good at, take the risk. It is worth it. Okay?
That's true.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I would just like to say that I appreciate this book as well. I felt seen and understood. I felt validated in my experiences, and I also felt hopeful. I think it's never too late to start being a better friend. I think once you have the tools to move forward, you then move forward with the tools that you have and actively work towards being a better friend. I think sometimes we think friendship comes easy or you don't have to put any work in, and that's not true.
That's not true.
So making the effort to show up for people and allow people to show up for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this book is a great guideline to help you to do that.
Baby, it is the manual. Listen, pick it up, please.
Yes.
And as we finish our review, let's move on to our brief butterfly letter. Come on in. So I want to give a brief butterfly letter to one Danielle. Thank you so much for writing this book. You bared your soul, your heart, your experiences. I believe the stories are about you. You ain't got to tell us about somebody else. I believe they were yours. And I really appreciate this body of work. You did your big one. You really had women in mind when you wrote this book.
Definitely.
That's not always the case with some self-help books, but you, my friend, all the research that you put into this was so intentional, and it pours like love from the page.
Yes.
We were very seen. We were very heard. Tears I had a point in the book, y'all, when I was doing my makeup for something the other day, and tears were streaming. They were streaming down my face, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" But no pun intended. But thank you so much for this book, Butterfly Letter to you. Second butterfly letter, I would like to give to my friend Kenyatta. Just briefly, she don't even know that I wasn't gonna say this, but I thank Kenyatta because you are a great example of me opening myself up to friendship. I feel like I was the Lord knew I was closed off. I had my little heartbreak, and I was like, I'm done with the bitch. I know all my friends was like, "What's wrong?" Well, the friends that I still have, I love y'all down. They were like, "What's wrong with this girl? I ain't seen her and heard her." She just kind of like closed off. But I kind of had made a decision inside of my body, which Danielle talked about.
Mind-body connection.
I made a decision inside of my body that I was scared of friendship because I was like, I would never have a friend like that again, or I would never have that type of depth in friendships, and that's so important to me. And I feel like God sent you. Not only did He send you for us to do this, He sent you in a way to heal me, to let me know that it's possible, and not to limit myself. And then you linked me with so many more beautiful people, and I'm like, where are these people? Man,
what a tissue.
Girl, why are you weeping?
I appreciate that.
But no, it hold on, pause.
We gotta cut the camera.
I didn't think you would go weep. I don't know, this is just I just need a little something. I don't know what it is, y'all.
Let me take to the corner.
I don't know. It's just a napkin. Oh, let's take okay. You ready?
No.
Okay. No.
I'll talk.
Okay.
Back to back. Okay.
But I think that, yeah, like I said, you have connected me with so many other beautiful women, and you've allowed me to re-see the value in the friendships that I have already, and how I point the finger back at me, because you do this and it's three. Hold up. You point towards somebody else and it's three back at you. Point the finger back at me and how I listen. How I limited myself.
Yes.
And I can feel how that feel. I can feel that energy from my other friends. Like, you seem like you took a step back. I did, just out of fear. And Danielle helped me see that. Like, yeah, it's you. It's been you. It's okay though. But I'm just and I've been saying this. I'm actively trusting myself to open myself up in friendship, be open to new friendship, show up in a better way for the women in my life, and just be more intentional. So I appreciate you. You were a segue. God got a ram in the bush to pull you out, and I feel like you were that for me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Shout out to God.
You the man.
Shout out to you.
You the one man. Well, no, I really appreciate that, and I receive it. I feel that I have been working really hard to be more intentional.
Let them use you.
I need to say
It's okay. It's okay. At least we held out to the end of the episode. We were able to get through.
Babe, I know I'm gonna be sick. Not at all. Okay. I'm good. Thank you, and I received that. I always say that I have been working really hard.
It's okay. If you gotta skip this point, you can skip this one. Skip this point.
Man, I'm gonna finish strong. We got for the month. Oh. Ooh. We need an emotional break. But Diamond, you know that I have been really intentional about showing up for my friends and letting my friends show up for me. Because it's hard. I think it's really hard just going through things and going through huge life events and even allowing people to be there for you and even thinking that they will. So I appreciate that because you have been to me what I have been to you. I was just thinking, I think you have been if my memory is correct, you have been my last close connection like this. And I think this is the first friendship where I have been, of course, all the friends have been intentional. We made a choice to be friends, but I feel like this is the first friendship that I've made as a healed woman, as a stronger woman, as a woman with more tools, someone that has gone to therapy, that has healed through certain things and worked through certain things, and I feel like I really cherish our friendship in that way. So
you were the reason I went,
girl.
Years ago, before any of this, y'all, I was still a bad bitch. I was still a bad bitch then, but before any of this, like, went, just Kenyatta, you just talking about your healing journey, and a previous, friend that we had as well talking about their healing journey. And when you made the step, I was like, I'm gonna keep this in mind. And then when I got to a point that I felt like I need something,
and even having friends to go with you, because it was something I was doing by myself. And even to this day, we have friends that are open to therapy and they have acknowledged that, okay, these things bring discomfort or whatever, but it's still a huge step to go. And to see yourself and sit on someone's couch and they
or video, because you don't have to go. Because I've been on video with my lady for 3 years now, and I love my lady. Love her down.
But I feel like this friendship has been just so intentional, and I appreciate that. I do feel like this is a safe space. It's a safe space.
My last friend too, since
girl, don't start no shit.
But no, I thank you too. I really appreciate it. Sometimes even I know we don't be feeling like it. We don't be feeling like we add value all the time, but it's always felt, it's always seen, it's always appreciated. Even when you don't want to hear certain things. Even when, somebody gotta pick you up and say, bitch, you're that girl. You're doing a great job. Listen, you're doing a great job. I see you. Don't beat up on... I like how she said, don't beat up on my friend. You talk about my friend. What? And I think that's important for us to have that. I thank God that He's continuing to place more beautiful women in our lives. We have to acknowledge it. Even if we aren't ready for it and we, stumbled a little bit to make the step.
Yes.
He is continually putting like-minded, business-oriented women who are on their healing journey in our lives, and I really appreciate it. And I'm just gonna slowly but surely make the step to building those relationships and advocating for every woman that we know to go to therapy, talk to you, find you a lady.
Find your lady.
Find your lady. Me too. Find your lady.
Go find your lady.
Listen.
And get the book.
Please. Please find your. But yeah, I really appreciate it too. Did you have a butterfly letter you wanted? Okay.
I'm out the game.
Okay. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us about your friendship experiences in the comments. Meet us there.